Hello and welcome to episode, what is it, Dan? It's episode 7 now, isn't it?
I'm going to say 7. I
7,
don't actually know.
episode
7.
7 of Gaming Views. How are you doing, Dan?
Very well. It's been a week.
It has been a week, hasn't it? It's been a very busy week.
It's been an eventful week in the Gaming Views household. We have a household now. There's been so much going on, and it's been all the better for it, to be honest.
Yeah.
How are you? How are you feeling?
I'm going to be honest. I'm feeling too good today. Don't know. It's just one of these bugs or something. I'm just feeling a bit sort of iffy, but the show must go on for everyone.
We do it for the love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We do it for the love.
Yeah. So as you alluded to, there's a lot going on, and we're kind of recording this just as the Xbox showcase has finished, and it's been a week of these games events, hasn't it? And we just thought
three big ones. 4 big ones if you include the Unreal State of Unreal, which is always a weird thing to call something. We're going to state of that Unreal. So quite a big week in the calendar.
Yeah, so as you said, we had so on Wednesday it was the State of Play, PlayStation's one.
Yep.
Friday night, and while we're on that, big shout out to the Game Club Pod for inviting Dan and I onto their Twitch stream as they were streaming it. That was a lot of fun actually as well, wasn't it? For the Summer Games
Huge
Fest.
amounts of fun. Very, very late night, very tiring, but those boys are awesome. Yeah, had a really good night, and my first time streaming with those guys, and it was just a whole heap of fun. I was in fits of laughter. Go and watch it if you haven't seen it. It's out there. It's on Twitch. We'll link the video for you to go and have a look, and we'll stick it in the comments on YouTube as well.
Yes, if you want our real time thoughts on what happened, then go see that. But that was a late finish though, that one, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Gone midnight. I mean, I need my beauty sleep, as you can tell. Now we're on camera. So
but tonight, as we said, we've just had the Xbox One. I mean, they're doing a more in-depth one, aren't they, on the Outer Worlds? So we're recording as that's happening.
The Obsidian showcase is happening right now. So they've got Outer Worlds and Grounded 2 that they're doing right now. So we are missing that to do this, which is I'm happy to do, to be fair, because I can go back and watch that anytime.
Yeah. And just the other thing to say is, obviously, I don't have G-Man behind me today.
It's disappointing, to be honest. I mean, I made a joke about putting other elements into green screens, but
that got returned straight after that.
The green screen went immediately.
That got returned.
I'd never do that to you.
I'll bring it back. I'll bring him back when Half-Life 3 gets confirmed, which disappointingly, spoilers, it hasn't been so far.
No. Sad times for Dan H.
Yeah. So we're going to give our views on the events. So Dan, we've kind of mentioned a couple of times, haven't we, that the big in-person festivals and shows have gone. So obviously for a number of years now, we've had these online ones. So I guess firstly, what I might throw at you is how do you feel about these kind of online ones? How do you think they fare compared to kind of the ones of old?
I have to say they've certainly improved over the last, what's it been, 5-6 years now. I think E3 was going to, it was dying to death before the pandemic, and then I think that just took it out the back and put the final bullet in its head, to be fair. So these, whether it's a showcase or whatever you want to call it, they've all improved. They've got slicker. The presentation got better. We were just commenting on the Xbox one, right? It was just wall to wall games, and I think if you look back at some of the ones they did early days, they were like, there was games, then there was a lot of talking and going to a crowd where they were talking to people in the crowd about the reaction to the thing that happened, and then another video, and I think they've just got a lot slicker. And I think Sony started that. They started, even with the PS5 Pro launch videos and things like that, they got really slick at it, and people have kind of generally followed their lead. I do kind of miss the whole thing. We spoke about it before. I went to Gamescom one time in Germany, and that was a whole lot of fun being there with like-minded people and just spending 3 days being absorbed in games and the environment and all the things that surround it, and that was a whole heap of fun. But EGX and Gamescom's still on this year, I think, and I think is it EGX the one they do in London with
EGX,
Eurogamer,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so that's on this year as well, and that's in conjunction with one of the Comic Cons
Comic
this
Con,
year.
isn't it? MCM, yeah.
Yeah, that's right, MCM. Yeah, so they are kind of semi making a comeback, but I don't mind. I mean, if they're as good as the Xbox One just was, I'd happily sit
Yeah,
for all of them all the time, because that blew me away.
yeah.
They did a bang up job.
I think what you said is right as well, that I actually quite like these online ones. But so we've had the three. I think Xbox, I think, got the mix quite right, and even I think PlayStation with games, then a little bit of in person
Mm.
speaking, because Games Fest went for the whole presenter route, which I find it doesn't need it. Although it was 2 hours long, so I guess maybe you need it in broken up a little bit more. But I think I prefer sitting on my couch. Well, or this time, like the Games Fest we watched with the Game Club pod, the Xbox One, we kind of jumped online and we just watched it together.
Yeah.
There's something quite fun about that, but yeah, it's trying to maybe give it a big show or big arena format for an online thing. Maybe doesn't quite work.
It was just felt a bit odd. I mean, there were long pauses. I mean, I think there were times where adverts were shown as well, and we were kind of
Yeah,
talking about games were being shown. In fairness,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I guess somebody's got to keep Jeff Keighley in you know
yeah.
smart casual clothes. I mean, whatever it is that we're paying for. I don't mind him as a host. I think he clearly likes games and stuff. It's just all feels a bit disjointed when they do it that way now.
Mm,
Whereas, like I think you're right. The PlayStation X was a great examples of just kind of churning out game after game and kind of going, look, this is the stuff that's coming. Because I think, like I said, early doors, they got it wrong or didn't get it quite right, and people were like, I don't want to sit through boring stuff. Just we're gamers. The clue's in the name.
yeah,
Show me the
yeah,
games.
yeah,
And I think what was really nice about the Xbox One, and I moan about this continuously to you, probably you're bored of it. I'm sick and tired of trailers that don't show me anything.
yeah,
I don't want to see what the in-game cutscenes are going to be, or even what they're not going to be. I want to see gameplay. I want to see the sort of thing I'm going to get my hands on. And the Xbox One, particularly this time, did that really well. Yes, there was a lot of stuff, but then there was also interspersed with that a lot of gameplay.
yeah.
Um, so PlayStation was more
Well, there was
CGI
one that wound me
stuff.
up in the Xbox One that was quite deceptive, but we'll come on to that at the
I think
time.
I think we should, yes, because both you and I were really excited about that, and then went, oh,
I've never I've never seen sort of two faces drop as quickly as they did on that. But maybe that's a little unfair. That's a little unfair. But what I think the thing we have to say is, in a week like this, it just feels good to be a gamer, doesn't it? Because it does put, there is that
absolutely.
little excitement about what's coming out, isn't there? It's a great event for getting that hype up.
Absolutely, again, look, I'm not trying to. Look, I'm not an Xbox fanboy or anything like that, as you well know. But I'm not trying to overhype it. But I was a little disappointed as we went through the kind of three events. They actually, I think they went in order of third, second, and first place.
Yeah, yeah,
Third, second, and first place as they went through, because PlayStation, and we'll talk about kind of what we saw and our thoughts. I was kind of like, meh, I'm not really that fussed, so I didn't get any kind of excitement. Then we went to State of Play, where there was like maybe one or two things that I was like, well, yeah, it looks all right. And then on the Xbox, there's just too many. And I was like, these are the things I'm genuinely excited about, and I think that's what you mean, right? It's the
yeah,
these are I'm excited about gaming for those reasons, or
yes,
for
yeah,
those things that I'm looking forward to. And some of them were this year, and I
yeah.
was like, wow.
Well, that's a really good point. That's what I was going to say. I think for the first time that I can remember, anyway, in all the events, the majority of them are this year or sort of early next year. Now, we were saying earlier that how many of these are going to get that classic? We want to get this game to you, but we want to make sure you get the best thing, so we're going to delay it for 5 months. Um,
I'll
there's
take
going to
that over
be
a
an element.
cyberpunk though, to be fair,
Well,
Dan.
well, yeah, yeah. I mean, we're going to get a lot of that, but yeah, I was surprised at how soon a lot of these were going to go. I mean, even on the
Mm,
stream, the Twitch stream with Game Club Pod, we were saying, did we know that was coming out in August, or
yeah.
did we know it was coming out that soon? So
Mm.
yeah. So tell you what, I think let's crack on with this, and then we can come back to the conversation depending on how many hours this takes us. But let's start. Let's go in the order. So for each one, what we're going to do is we've each picked out 2, 3, maybe 4, if we can squeeze a fifth one in. Games that we're quite excited about in that, or the ones that we personally look forward to. Then I'll try again, depending on how many we've got. List all the other ones just for completeness, and then we'll give a verdict on the overall show. So why don't you start with the state of play, the PlayStation state of play? What were your
It's
picks
quite
from
easy
that?
for me. It's quite easy for me because there was one. No
Yeah,
joke. And it was Romeo as a Dead Man, which is the Grasshopper Studios one. That I can't remember how you phrased it, and I'm just trying to find your actual quote because it was the quote of the evening as we were watching it. And while I do that, yeah, it just looked like just a whole lot of fun insanity, which you expect from those guys, right? That is those. They are the guys who create crazy.
yeah.
So it starts off very. I don't know if that's part of the trailer or if that's part of this, and this is the problem with
Well,
Grasshopper.
well, this is
You
it, and
don't
this is
quite
why.
know.
Well, before you go on to that, this is the first bit was exactly that, because I called it a bizarre crossover of King of the Hill crossed with Dead Rising and Lollipop Chainsaw.
That was exactly it, right?
Yeah,
And actually, Lollipop Chainsaw, which is another Grasshopper Studios joint, is is exactly the same thing, right? It's a bit of insanity. And what I got going through that trailer was just sitting there going, I don't know which bit of this is gameplay and which is,
yeah,
because I'm
yeah,
kind of hoping that opening piece is not just the opening of the game that goes a bit mad. I'm hoping that genuinely there's a gameplay element in there as well before it gets to the insanity. But it just looked like absolute lunacy.
yeah.
Do you know what
Well,
I mean?
because it starts off like a King of the Hill type cartoon, then
It
someone
does.
gets like an injection sunk into their head, and then
Yeah.
it's almost like blood vessels, but that goes into almost like realistic looking scene, and then it goes into some weird like shooter type thing, wasn't it?
It was it was genuine madness. And for that reason alone, I was just sitting there going, that's game of the show. Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there were chainsaws and dismemberments and all sorts of insane craziness. And I was like, I'll take that all day long, thanks. So yeah, I will be picking that one up. But like I said, just and I won't go on and on about it, but it just for me felt a little bit. It was very anime heavy,
mm,
which is fine if that's your thing.
mm.
We always say you do you, right? I have no problem with it. It's just for me, it didn't light a fire under me, and I was kind of like, you know, great for those people who love this stuff, but not for me. What about you?
So I picked. What did I pick? I picked Silent Hill F and the Mortal Kombat collection. Now, Silent
Mm,
Hill. We've mentioned it on here, didn't we? The PlayStation deep dive. I've always been a fan of that. And I love that it's kind of gone a complete different direction, because we've had it very almost like American
yes,
Western,
yeah,
and this felt
yeah,
more sort of set. Well, it did feel like it was set in Asia, right? It was
yeah. I think even when it started out, and it was a great trailer, and don't get me wrong, the reason I didn't put it on my list is because it was on your list,
yeah,
but yeah, it felt. As soon as it started, and I think we all said this, it was like, is this Fatal Frame? Is
yes,
it
yeah,
because
yeah,
that's what it looked like?
yeah,
It's that aesthetic, and I'm going to sound really weird and pervy, but younger, like Japanese schoolgirl type character, and then it just went a bit mad, like a
yeah.
bit, and the horror looked great. Don't get me? They
And
always
some of
do
the
in Silent
enemies were
Hill.
great. I mean,
Yeah,
that's what Silent
the
Hill's all
design
about, isn't it? Yeah,
just brilliant. I mean, anything that comes up with Pyramid Head, do you know what I mean? And then kind of takes that to the next level in this game. Just look, and that I think at one point they're on, there's like a field of them, field of this character on like crucifixes or spikes or whatever they were, and then they start coming to life like some warped kind of marionette type, and it
yeah,
all got a bit of freaking. You're like, oh my
yeah.
god, this looks
I think that's what I'm trying to say. I think we've had, and not all of them. I think the third one was different, but we've had like the action hero kind of as the main
Yeah,
protagonist, and now I think with what looks like someone who's clearly she's thrown into this situation,
mm,
I think that helps ratchet up the tension of a game more. So yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it's I think that's a PlayStation exclusive, I believe.
I would have
Um,
thought so.
yeah, and I've got it
Yeah,
here coming September this year. So, but I would love to get to play that. And the only reason I picked the Mortal Kombat collection was, well, it's two reasons. One, it's Mortal Kombat. So again, we've mentioned before in a couple of episodes our memories of that, and as a kid, the fatalities, etc. But
yeah.
also, it's done by Digital Eclipse, they've really shown love for previous retro stuff. So they've got like the Atari collection. So I've got that. I think they did the Jeff Minter one. So I think they are going to absolutely show it love. So I think that's going to be a great collection to have
And did they
outside of the
do?
games.
Did they do kind of like a documentary style thing with it? Did they do? Is that
Yeah,
because we've spoken about the Jeff Minter piece as well, haven't we,
yeah,
before?
yeah.
Right, got
So
you.
what they've done with the Atari, the Jeff Minter one, and also if they did and I'm going to not say it right, but the Karateka. Do you remember it's the old game on like the everything. But with definitely with the Atari and the Jeff Minter, you get a timeline. So they break it down into years or
Right,
sort of decades of that. And then they'll have pictures, photos, they might have interviews, they might have a video. And so you've got a collection of sort of pieces from around the time. So what I would
gotcha.
expect for this, they might have artwork or pre-designs, etc.
Oh,
for
cool.
this. So
Yeah. Well, I might just borrow it off you unless you buy it digitally.
um, yeah, so I mean that's it. So we've really picked three. I mean, the thing was for me, it felt like, and like I said, it's not about favouring one brand over the other, but it starts off with Lumines Arise, which now I love like those
Mm.
puzzle games, and I think I like the Lumines, but it didn't feel like the game to start off a show, if you know what I mean.
No, it wasn't. It didn't feel turbocharged, did it? I think I said it. It was like a migraine on the screen. That's.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
those sort of
Yeah,
things. They're not my bag. But I kind of I was watching it going, is this just an advert for like
yeah,
a game that's already out that I'm not familiar with? But no, it was a coming soon. Lumens. Oh, good. Next.
and yeah, and there was two other things that stood out for me on that one. I can't remember the game, but you messaged me straight away and said, "Did they say pulse pounding soundtrack? Who says that nowadays?"
It was the retro Ninja Gaiden, which again,
That's it. Yeah,
quite happy with that. Quite
yeah,
happy with it. Anything with the word ninja in the title, I'm quite happy with. But yeah, you stand two corporates up on stage and get them to say pulse pounding soundtrack. I'm just like, we're in the '90s again. Like, what happened?
yeah. It wasn't awkward. It felt awkward just
Yeah,
watching that, and
just weird.
and the other one, because again, I know you had views of it, but it was the first showing for me anyway of the 007 game.
First shown for anyone, I think. I think that's the
Uh,
first time IO had shown anything around there. And yeah, I think my quote was they made James Bond the millennial. And no, no disrespect to any millennials out there, but it just felt it didn't feel like Bond.
No,
You know, it
Bond on work experience. I think I called it, wasn't it?
yeah. Yeah, I mean they've done some they clearly have a passion for Bond and the world. One of Ian Fleming's defining characteristics of Bond is he has a scar running down his left cheek, and they included that on the character in the game. He's an orphan; his parents were killed in the plane crash. So all of those things have kind of bled into the world they're creating. So I don't, it's look. For me, it was more of a wait and see. I love James Bond to bits, as a franchise and being British, I think it's just one of our saving graces as a country having a franchise like that. I'm a bit disappointed Amazon now pretty much own the rights to it, and my fear was what Amazon would do to it, and I felt that bleeding through into what IO are putting
Yeah,
out, and I'm kind of like, oh, is this what's going to happen, moving forward? So, look, but I'll give
James
it. I'm
Bond kart
happily give it a
racer.
chance. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I can't. I just can't. If that goes that way, I'm gonna be very, very unhappy. But these are the guys you have to put a bit of faith in.
Yeah,
Hitman. Look what they've done with that.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
maybe I'm wrong plenty of times, and I could be well wrong about this stuff. So
I I thought it looked fun. And you could say this for anything really, but I was looking at it and thinking, is it just going to be an Uncharted or a Tomb Raider game?
They
Are
did
they?
comment on this, didn't they? Because a number of people had made reference to Uncharted, and they specifically came out on that as a comment and said it's definitely not that. It's definitely its own thing. Wait till you see it, in motion, like doing. But we've heard this before from people and developers, haven't we? Where they said, no, 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 it's not like that at all. And then the game gets released,
Yeah,
and you're like, it's exactly like that.
yeah.
So again, let's wait and see. Let the gadgets are there, the cars there. Who knows? Maybe it'll be great.
I'm looking forward to a spy game now because I mentioned in the RPG episode the Alpha Protocol from Obsidian, I think it was, and that was
Yes,
an
yeah,
attempt at almost that was like a James Bond game but without James Bond title.
it was,
S-
yeah.
so yeah, so I look forward to that. I mean, I'll mention the other games if there's anything you want to shout out. Let me know. But I like the look of this one, Pragmata from Capcom. That was an interesting one. That was near starts. Was that with the? No, I can't remember it. We've just seen so many games, haven't we? Games, games, games.
It's back
Um,
to back.
was it the AI girl on the shoulder? Was it? This,
Yes, so this has been coming for a while. So this
because
is
you said
this is the
something
one
funny.
that's been, yeah. So I've watched these for. I think I've watched a similar trailer without the gameplay elements for the past 3 or 4 years, where they've just kept putting this little label at the end of it saying, "Sorry, it's been delayed." It's like,
Mm,
all right, it's getting boring now. It was cute the first couple of times, and then it was like, really, you're delaying it again. And then when it came up, I was just like, it just feels a bit weird. Like, it could be a great game.
yeah,
Like, don't get me wrong,
yeah.
it could be absolutely brilliant. But just carrying a 5-year-old around on your shoulder. Why is the AI a 5-year-old girl? I'm a bit thrown. It's just. I just saying that I'm quite happy with Romeo's Dead for weirdness. So I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Maybe that's the thing these
And Death
days.
Stranding, you've got like a kind of a baby in a jar, haven't you? So,
Well, yeah, but I trust Hideo Kojima with anything. So I mean, maybe that's my problem. But
yeah.
yeah, I just found it all a bit
Odd.
unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit odd.
Yeah, we have Bloodstained, the Scarlet Engagement, Final
Yeah,
Fantasy Tactics. That's September. Baby Steps,
I
September.
I think that's going to be hilarious.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
and I
Oh,
think I
that
said
was
on
that
that.
the one? Yeah, where you've got to. It's like you're controlling their limbs or something,
You
wasn't
just
it?
yeah, you'll learn. You basically have to control how they walk, and it's all
Yeah,
yeah. And I said I wanted to see a mashup of that and Death Stranding too. I think that would
yeah,
be just brilliant
yeah.
because with 200 pound back on your back and trying to do that. But yeah,
Um,
I think that'd be fun.
yeah. Hiragami was shown. Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, September.
Awesome.
Ninja Gaiden 2, Ragebound, uh, Ken, which is a climbing game.
I thought you said Ken then. I was saying it's like a Barbie game that I missed. Ken.
Uh,
That was the climbing one that looked really. It was certainly vertigo inducing at times. And I'm
yeah.
just like, you have to control individual limbs. And what I took from the trailer at times, that it looked a bit like where they were trying to place the limbs just didn't look very fluid and
Mm,
natural.
mm,
But
mm.
again, it's early doors, so it could be great.
Yeah, yeah. A big one that we've not neither of us picked, but Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. But that was a
Mm,
bizarre demo, wasn't it?
yeah, because then they threw uh, the monkey
Yeah,
ape,
like
ape
from
escape,
yeah,
ape escape in
yeah,
with it, and I was like,
yeah.
what? What really? Okay,
I know. There is
they've done
a
tie-ins
combo with
before
that
now.
game before, but yeah, it just felt like a funny trailer for that. Nio 3 is revealed. That's for
Yes,
2026.
yeah.
One I thought of you when I saw this Thief VR Legacy of Shadow.
Yeah, I love the Thief games back in the
Mm,
day. And there were a couple on there actually. One on the Games Fest we'll talk about. But yeah, I've not had much reason to pick up the VR headset in a while. So um, it might be one I actually give a go, because I did quite like the look of it, but I'm just kind of hoping it doesn't just ruin the franchise, because Thief's very beloved and it's got a cult following, and it is great. So I'm just kind of hoping it doesn't ruin it, but we'll see. Maybe I'll pick it up.
yeah. They showed some Astro Bot. I think there's new maps, etc. coming to
Mm.
that. Sword of the Sea. Ghost of Yotai, which I think you've mentioned a couple of times,
Yeah,
haven't you?
but you see, I didn't say anything about it because they didn't say anything about it. They
Mm.
literally went, "Join us for a deep dive in July." You're like, but I'm here now. Can I
Yeah.
see it now? And it was just, oh, why can't I see it now? Just show me. Yeah, I'm desperate to see more of that because yeah, Ghost of Tsushima is just absolutely brilliant. Just such a great game.
Yeah, and the final one, and again, I mentioned them once more. Game Club Pod. Hi there, hi to you, because they released, or Tim released a DLC for them because he is a massive fighting fan, and right at the end you had Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, so
Mm,
done by
yeah,
Arc System Works, who are great for the fighting games, and it did look good. I mean, we kind of said fighting games aren't necessarily our style, but
yeah. I can't play as one character in a fighting game
yeah.
already. So you tell me I've got three others to control.
Yeah.
I, why? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
So, those were everything, and I think it was done in about 40 minutes, wasn't it? So, and I want to make sure is it unfair because we know there are other sort of shows and dives going to come out, but yeah, there wasn't really anything that really jumped out. I mean, like I said, I like the look of Silent Hill, but
There was no wow factor.
no, I think
That
that's
that
it.
that
Yeah.
was the problem.
Mm.
And I suspect that's because Game Fest was coming up, and obviously the big announcement at Game Fest kind of trod all over what PlayStation might have done previously in previous years with that franchise. So we'll talk about that when we talk about Game Fest.
Yeah. Do you think that all the rumors that PlayStation or Sony, sorry, are quite advanced in a new console? Do you think that they may be holding some things back, and maybe if they do next year and do like a real big bang with a new console and new games, from studios, etc.? Or do we just think that it's just one of those periods of time where it's less games from them?
It's difficult to say, isn't it? I mean, when did the PS5 launch? 23? Was it 23? Was that
Yes, I
two,
want to
two,
say yes.
three? But even if it's 22, it's what, 3 years? And what do we say the average life cycle is now? Between 6 and 7 years, something like that.
Yeah,
And they've only
yeah,
just launched the PS5 Pro last year. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if they'd be holding back that early. I mean, if you look at their previous generations of consoles, everything kind of came into its own towards the latter end because developers really got their head around, sorry, the hardware and coding for that specific hardware. And I was expecting to see something very similar with the PS5. I mean, Mark certainly did a great job of talking through the architecture and talking about, the generational leaps they've made in kind of sound and visuals for the PS5. So maybe that same drip feed of quality won't happen. I don't know. I think certainly we still seem to be in a bit of a hangover period post pandemic where development teams are still catching up on what they and I don't know if this is just an excuse they use or if it's real, but they're catching up on a lot of the studios saying, well, that whole working from home thing and not having developers in the office and the pandemic has caused us to have to rethink how we structure and how we do that. But then you see the news every day and it's like, oh, another game studio, tons of layoffs. So I don't know how to take that, because if you're really struggling to release a game you spent a lot of money on, why are you going to cancel and shut down your teams?
yeah,
It feels a bit counterproductive. And then go, oh yeah, but we're still just catching up from when we didn't weren't in the office together. It feels like an excuse. So yeah, I don't know. I think Sony just didn't do it for me this June, shall we say, because this is an annual occurrence normally for all the big players. Um, yeah, it was a bit of a letdown. I sound like a football pundit now.
yeah. However, we've got more shows and a lot more games to get through.
We do,
Um,
yes, yeah.
So we are now moving on to the Summer Games Fest Friday. There was a lot here. There was a lot here. Not necessarily all great, but I think,
Mm,
like you said, the excitement built up a bit more. So what, shall I mention my games that I picked
do it.
from this?
Yeah.
So I've chosen four. I could have done more, but I've chosen four. I went first for really random one. Felt that boxing.
honestly, I thought that was the trailer of the show. I mean, that was just for me. It was mad, and it was. I mean, for our listeners, it was a bit of an odd occasion for me. So it was the first time being on Twitch broadcasting with the guys. So it was a kind of four-way conversation about the stuff that's going on. So I was kind of half watching the trailers and half bit of banter, and so I didn't kind of catch it all. But it was just basically Rocky with the Muppets, and it was
Yeah.
but obviously a little bit violent and very sweary, and it just looked brilliant. It
Well,
looked
well, this
phenomenal.
is it, because the description I got from somewhere said it's a punch-out style arcade boxing game where every character is a Jim Henson style puppet. Now,
Yeah.
it looks like it's PC only, coming 2026, but and I look at it and it like I said, I picked it because it's just so different to what we've seen. And I think I said on the stream, it reminded me of if you've seen it, the Imagine Dragons Radioactive video, where it finishes with like there's I think it's Lou Diamond Phillips is like the boss overseeing cage fights between Muppets. Sort of
Right.
Muppet
I've not
game.
seen it, but I might go and
So,
watch that now because that sounds brilliant too.
but like I said, it's not. You say Muppets, and it sounds like is it childish? It's definitely not for kids. This one,
Right.
um,
No.
and I'm thinking, how good will it be? Is it a one trick show? One trick game. I guess we'll wait and see. But that stole the show for me in terms of just
Mm,
not expecting anything like that.
yeah. And then the title came up. And
Yeah,
anyone who's got the balls to call that
yeah,
felt being, as in the material, was just,
yeah.
just a stroke of genius. So yeah, I really enjoyed that.
The second one I put on my list, too, I want us to cover that last after you've done yours as well, because I
Okay.
think there's a reason for that. One
Sure.
I'm looking forward to, and I think I mentioned it on an episode, is Mafia The Old Country.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that got a fairly good trailer. It's very Godfather 2 where they go back to Sicily. I think it is obviously based in Sicily. I'm
Yeah.
a fan of the Mafia games. I'm not going to say they're brilliant, but it takes it to 1900 Sicily. It's released in August the 8th, and I think this was the one
Wow.
that we
Okay.
said, did we expect it that soon?
Yeah.
So
Very soon.
yeah, I don't think you've played the Mafia games yet, have you?
I haven't played any of the Mafia games because there was a spate of these types of games. I'm not going to call them GTA, but they were kind of
Mm,
GTA like, weren't they? There was another one that was set in kind of 1930s, 1940s Chicago. That was I can't remember what it was called, but it was a similar type of game where you had to solve crime. You were a member of either the police or the FBI, and you had to solve crimes. It was a similar sort of thing,
mm.
but yeah, the Mafia ones kind of passed me by. So yeah, you'll have to fill me in on that series at some point and let me know what the pull is.
Yeah, so I am looking forward to that. And the fourth one, and sort of canny listeners will realise this is only the third one, but I said I'll do my fourth one after with Dan. Was it what's it called? Just get the name right. Mouse PI for Hire. So Troy Baker is voiced in the game. And it kind of looks like it is Mickey Mouse, like the original styling, isn't
Steamboat
it?
Willie,
Black and white. Yeah, Steamboat
yeah,
Willie.
Steamboat Willie,
It's kind of
yeah,
Cupheady.
Cuphead type thing, yeah.
Yeah,
But it does look a ton of fun,
yeah, yeah.
because it's a first person shooter, right? I think that's
Yes, it was.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So and all the guns do that whole moving in time to the beat, and
yeah.
it did look genuinely fun. I've had my eye on that for a little while. When I first saw the aesthetics, and I do think this whole thing around the commercial rights for Steamboat Willie and Peter Pan and all these things. They're making bunches of horror movies and stuff around them
Yeah,
now as well.
Winnie the
Popeye
Pooh,
and
wasn't it?
yeah, Winnie the Pooh. They've done a Popeye one. They've done a Peter Pan one. They've done a Steamboat Willie one, and so all of these things that are now coming, I think that's clearly bleeding into the video games as well, because then now they're kind of going, well, I can probably use that aesthetic or that, not
Mm,
necessarily the character, because the IP they could, I guess, use, but they've chosen to just go down the aesthetic route, and it looks a ton of fun.
yeah, yeah. So, what were your choices from this?
So I had a few. So I was a fan of the first Atomic Heart. It was a great mashup. People who listen to this will know I love Half Life anyway. So just being able to kind of play through something that's similar, very heavily Russian, but all right, the story wasn't great. The characters weren't you didn't exactly fall in love with them. They were kind of like very one note. But it was a bunch of fun, and there was a crazy old lady who gave you lots of guns, and you killed robots. So I quite like that. And then this one just looked incredible. And all right, it's clearly Unreal 5 engine. It's clearly very heavily CGI'd as they put the whole video together. But still, if they can pull this off, it will be brilliant. And the fact that it's coming out so close after the original was
Yeah.
just blew me away. When it came up, and I think I said as we were watching it, Mundfish, they're the guys who did Atomic Heart. This is a bit,
Yeah.
it can't
Yeah.
be. And it
Yeah,
was, and it looks
were
very
saying-
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was number one. The second one was one that really reminded me of kind of It Takes Two and those types of games in that studio. And it's not them clearly, but and I think we said at the time it looked like Unravel as well, and that
Mm.
was Out of Words. Which again, if it wasn't for Felt that would have been, I think, the trailer of the show, because it
Yeah.
just looked beautiful.
Yeah.
So, and it's clearly all done with stop motion. Now, anyone who knows anything about stop motion knows the time and patience it takes to create those things. To do that for a video game, I don't know what that would take. For a movie, you've got a start, middle, and end. For a game,
Mm.
you're having to account for a player's moves, actions.
Yeah.
I mean, that must
Yeah.
like the definition of insanity, I think.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
that looked beautiful. So I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that could be a really good game.
Yeah, I probably would have picked it if you hadn't. It's it's coming out 26 and it's on everything. It looks like. But yeah, it's one of those ones I think I said straight away, yeah, we need to play that. It just
Yeah.
looks great. And like you said, it's those are the sort of games that appeal to me and think, yeah, the amount of time that's being spent on it, it deserves to kind of have a go.
Yeah, there's a big thing at the moment with this whole, stop motion, almost stop motion-esque animation in games. I mean, South of Midnight's a great example of that, and you and I both love that game. But this is actual stop motion. This isn't just dropping a frame or two to make it look like it. This is actually created in that world. So it's like, like I said, and you've got to give props to anyone who's going to go out and create something like that looks that beautiful. The third one for me was actually originally a DLC and now a full-fledged game, which is Dying Like the Beast.
Okay.
I love the Dying Light games. It's quite funny. We have a thing with the Game Club pod. They loved the first one because they played that first and then didn't like the second one as much. But I played them the other way around and really liked the second one and didn't like the first one as much. So this one will be interesting because it's got. I was reading a preview. It's got guns, it's got cars, it's got so it's a lot different to Dying Light, which is very heavy on melee and not so much on kind of weapons. This one is very weapon heavy as well, but also they've introduced bows, stealth, all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to Dying Like the Beast.
So sorry, just on that, I've got Hero Kyle Crane's return, and its release date is confirmed as the 22nd of August, so not that far.
I know. Yeah. Going to be playing that in August, definitely. Whilst we're also prepping for a special that we're doing, I think, in November. So that's going to be interesting to see how I manage those. And then the third one, which again looked phenomenal, and if they can pull this off, I am just going to be gobsmacked.
This
and that
was definitely on my list as well. I'll let you have it.
A little title called Ill, which was a unique name for a game anyway. But then when you see it, you're just like, surely that can't be how that game plays. I mean, it's. I think I've used this phrase before. It's grotesque beauty. It's that image of that hand pulling itself apart, and that's going to stick with me for a very long time. And it just looked gorgeous, and the gunplay looked great, and the enemies. I mean, this is someone who loved Dead Space, that kind of body horror, and for me, that game just looked. And you called it out earlier. You said what's really interesting about it, it's not really dark. A lot of these games try and hide behind this kind of depth of darkness in the game where you're kind of like, well, I can't quite see it, and that's supposed to freak me out. I think this is quite light in a way that no, I'm going to freak you out because everything's really weird and horrible, rather than jump scare.
It's we were talking about it today, weren't we? It's it's the easy lazy or easy comparison is Dead Space, because it is that tactical dismemberment. But I think
Yeah.
it's the obvious one. But as you said, it does look gorgeous, for want of a better term.
Yeah.
And the dismemberment, because it's in daylight and the graphics are really good, is a lot cleaner, if you know what I mean. It looks
Yeah.
more impactful. And I've got here that it's actually a debut game from Team Clout. So, you know,
Yeah.
if we're looking at, and like I said, it remains to be seen how it is. But I think this is also related to Mundfish somehow. I can't remember. I'd need to have a look at that. But
It's part of their it's almost like an outreach program that they do with other developers to help them develop their games and stuff. And I think that's what they were intimating in the Games Fest. So I think that would be it'd be an interesting. I don't not quite a collaboration, but kind of they will invest time and developers to help them improve.
Yeah.
But that game looked brilliant.
It
just
really
genuinely
did,
looked brilliant.
And wasn't there a bit in there where it's like an amount? It was either a lot of enemies altogether, or it was like an amalgamation of about 30, wasn't there? It looked like a whole like a rolling boulder of them or something.
Yeah. And we won't talk about Kicking a Baby, which was also in there, which was just
moving on. I think you just did.
And the last one I had that for me, this was just this looks a bit interesting because I'd not seen it before, although it had been shown before, and that was the Stranger Than Heaven one, which I think had been renamed from something else, also in kind of 1940s Japan. Looked really interesting.
Yeah, no release details on it, but combat focused detective tale even. Yeah, no, absolutely all solid choices. So I want to go back to my choice, my missing one. For me, it was probably, other than sort of felt that it was the announcement of the show for me, and that was Resident Evil Requiem, so Resi 9.
Yeah.
I mean, you were probably going to expect at some point another Resi game, but it just looked good. So a couple of notes here: features a new protagonist, which again kind of fits in with what I said about Silent Hill, that it's a change of tone. So you've got,
but interestingly, she links back to a character from the original one, right? Or Resident Evil 2 or 3. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah, or I read somewhere, I think she was a journalist and wrote a news article that featured in 7 as well. So her name is linked to the franchise and maybe earlier. So yeah, she is dispatched to investigate deaths at a hotel in which her mother died 8 years before. And it starts off really kind of slow, doesn't it? It's just, I think we joked it was almost like Sim Office or something, wasn't it? Because it was just
what stood out for me, and the reason I jokingly said, if you watch the Twitch back, I jokingly said as we were watching it, what I can't get my head around is why every actor in that looks like they've kind of literally just mocapped an actor and put it in there, except for her, who looks like someone out of Resident Evil. And that was before we knew it was Resident Evil. And then it came up and I was like, it is fucking Resident Evil. My God, but yeah, I mean, it was very much just someone walking through an office in a typical, an FBI office, because it was clear it was some sort of law enforcement. So yeah.
Then it really amped up. It kind
really
of switched, didn't it? And
when she wakes up on a gurney, kind of, screaming with her hands tough, and you're like, this is probably Resident Evil.
And it did actually look quite distressing. She looked very distressed, didn't she? And the news on that is it's actually releasing, or it's currently planned for 27th of February, because I think March is their, what did I say? Is it 30th anniversary, 27th?
30th, I think. This is a big 3-0 for Resident Evil.
So not
I get the feeling they've given themselves a little bit of a buffer there.
Yeah.
By kind of going, well, no, it's February. Oh no, hang on, it might be March now, or it might be April. So, I mean, these things do take time. And although Resident Evil's not famous for being pushed back significantly when they relaunch games, so.
But I've enjoyed the last couple, the change away in tone, sort of from the initial ones, and this looks really good.
Have you played them in VR?
And I never will. No, and I never will. 7. The first time I played 7, that's with the house, right? The Bakers.
The house, yeah.
Yeah. First time I played that.
Honestly. Yeah. Village wasn't too bad, but but that 7 with the house.
You say
I played that in VR. It nearly gave me a proper coronary.
You say that right about Village. It wasn't that bad, but there was that whole bit with that the giant baby wasn't there in that house. It's like a haunted house, but that's not this show. That's not this.
I didn't get that far on VR, but with the Village, I did. With 7 with the in VR. Oh my!
Wouldn't
God.
touch Resi Evil VR with a barge pole, and not because it's a bad game. I just would not.
Well, they've done 4. They've now done 4. You play 4 in VR, which I'm tempted to try.
Okay.
I think it's a free add-on and I've got Resident Evil 4 on the PS5, so I'm tempted to give that a go at some point.
Okay.
More action.
Yeah. Right, I'm going to attempt to go through the majority of these. We'll blitz, but just give a yay or nay or any comment on these as we go through. So, Mortal Shell 2, which it's got those classic words. It's a Souls-like action RPG sequel to 2020 game.
I'm yet to find a game on your list that isn't a Souls-like action game during 2026.
We did joke, didn't we, that it was either a Souls-like or what did I say? A sword forging game. It was
one or the other. But yeah, I know.
Both.
I know. I didn't play Mortal Shell. I'm not bothered about Mortal Shell 2.
Okay.
Unless it's got difficulty settings.
Fortnite Death Star Sabotage.
Pass.
So it's an in-game event actually released on the day. Pass.
Star Wars belongs nowhere near the Fortnite universe, or vice versa.
Yeah, neither of us mentioned. I think because it wasn't too much given away, but Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
I kind of reserve judgment. I enjoyed what I played of the first one, which admittedly was only maybe 3 or 4 hours. So we'll see. I know he has said previously that he wanted it to be more action orientated. So maybe that'll make a difference. I don't know.
Yeah. So we saw very little, didn't we? So we'll wait more. And it
was weird what we did say. That has to get a mention. It was really weird. Yeah. And it was like an office drama.
Yeah.
And then she slaps him and shows him a scar, and then it ends. Yeah. And I was like, what just happened?
Oh, they both had something on their finger, didn't they? Yeah, the scar.
Yeah, I thought I was watching an episode of Sons and Daughters or something. I was like, what is Sons and Daughters? Was an aging Australian soap for those of young people.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Neighbours or Home and Away.
Yeah, I don't remember that. Right. And if I've written this down right, that's actually coming out 26th of June, so not too far off. So
yes, it is. Yeah. Super soon that launch. Yeah.
Chronicles Medieval, a medieval sandbox from Copenhagen-based Raw Power Games.
Pass.
Sonic Racing Crossworlds.
Pass.
That's going to have Minecraft as part of the Xbox game.
Oh, joy. Pass.
Code Vein 2, a follow-up to the anime. You got it. Souls-like action RPG.
No.
I actually quite like Code Vein, the first one. Code Vein the first.
I'm going to... Code Vein the Barbarian. I'm going to pass. I'm going to offend so many people just passing on all these cartoons.
End of Abyss. So that's Section 9 and Epic Games, a creepy isometric twin stick shooter. Actually,
that looked quite interesting. Yeah, that did look quite interesting. I'll give it that.
Yeah, a game that's come out far too late for me. Game of Thrones War for Westeros, real-time strategy game.
No, unless it's written by the original author or indeed not the final series of the TV show, I'm out.
I grouped these under Mundfish, so we've spoken about it, but they also got an experimental multiplayer game called The Cube coming out. And I think I said to you that because there's a game show here on TV, right? The Cube. I said that's kind of escalated quite a bit.
It's escalated a lot. It changed, didn't it?
Marvel Cosmic Invasion, a 2D beat 'em up.
Yeah, that looked. Was that the one that was a bit like X-Men and Simpsons?
I think that
looked quite fun.
She-Hulk was it, and
Rocket Raccoon, She-Hulk was in it.
Wolverine because you were upset we didn't see Wolverine.
I was very upset. I was like, why is it just She-Hulk and Rocket Raccoon? They've not done the rest of the characters yet.
DLC.
But yeah, that looked like X-Men v Avengers, which is like another side-scrolling bit. It looked like that, but like part 2. So it looked really good.
Yeah. Onimusha, Way of the Sword.
Pass.
Killer In, a new IP. Oh, yeah, this was a funny one. New IP from Tactic Games. It was all stealthy. It was kept going on about the stealth, but people were just going up to each other and like using grenades and stuff, weren't they? It felt like, or just
grenades, shotguns. It was like, use stealth.
People in front of others, groups of others. That's my kind of stealth.
It was like Cluedo mixed with traitors the game. I was just like, I don't
Yes.
understand it. You can keep it. Thanks.
That's a perfect definition. Arc Raiders, October this year.
See, that looked interesting when it first started public showing, and now I'm a bit. I don't know. Maybe
Extraction
it's an
shooter,
online. It's
yeah.
just that. Yeah, it's an extraction shooter live service thing, and I'm just like, maybe not.
Yeah. Dune Awakening.
Again, it's an MMO. I don't mind MMOs. I used to play a lot of World of Warcraft, and that has been getting some really good press. Mainly because I think the developers are very responsive to kind of feedback.
Yeah.
So yeah, probably won't play it now.
Lego Voyagers. Yeah. Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny.
Jog on.
We had Lies of P Overture, which is DLC for the game, the original game.
I'm actually going to pick that up actually,
Yeah, same here.
because it's they're allowing you to change the difficulty setting.
Well,
So
it's a
I'm gonna
valid
play it.
thing. It's a valid thing. Yeah, Lies of P. Yep. I actually think that applies to the base game now, though. So I don't think
it does,
you have
yeah.
to. Yeah, I don't think you have
Yeah.
to have this DLC. Fractured Blooms. It
That
was
looked weird.
Yeah, described as Doki Doki Literature Club meets Silent Hill.
It was so weird. It started out in this like Fae farming type thing, and then at night time it all goes like, I don't know, it all goes Silent Hill. It was
Yeah.
like with all this blood and I'm like, what's up? What a weird mashup. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like getting Pokemon and sticking it together with Dead Space. It was just a bit weird, but
Yeah.
maybe.
Mina the Hollower.
No,
Don't remember. Now this one,
it was a very 8-bit game. Mina the Hollower. They hyped it up on stage, and there's a great studio behind it, and I couldn't understand what a Hollower was, and then they showed it, and I'm like, this looks like it was on a NES. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Done.
This one is interesting because I know how much you love the character, but I want your take on it. Deadpool VR.
Wasn't completely sold. Not because Neil Patrick Harris is doing the voice and not Ryan Reynolds, because he was clearly far too expensive. But then Ryan Reynolds stuck out an Instagram taking a mickey out of Doogie Howser doing the voice of Deadpool, and it was played to perfection, and it had one of the other characters from the Doogie Howser TV series as his love interest in it, and it was very funny and very on point. So I think he's obviously given it his blessing in terms of, because he's like king of that franchise now. But I also read a bit about it today in kind of a bit of a preview thing on it. And look, any game where you can slice an enemy from taint to head in half, and also use their head that gets stuck on your shish kebabbed on your sword and flick it at other players to knock them out, and where you start the entire game with your head detached from your body, and then you have to violently kill the head scientist to go and get the head back. I'm in. I'm fine. I'll take that now. It's proper Deadpool through and through.
Yeah, well, my takeaways were, one, it did look very Borderlandsy.
Shall say them,
which isn't a bad thing because I like the game. The only thing I'll say is, and I don't know if it's just because it was a trailer, I thought Neil Patrick Harris felt understated in it. Now, I don't know if it's just because it's a trailer.
He felt like he was trying to do a Deadpool impression. Is that what you mean?
And it felt restrained. It felt, so wait to see the game. Mixtape, which is my kind of game, and it's that don't nod type of thing, but it didn't really show much.
No, it was Stranger Things without the horror elements.
Without the stranger.
It was just things happening. And like, what are we gonna do? Let's listen to a Sony Walkman, because that's what we did. And then I'd say maybe it's got skateboarding in it.
Toa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree.
Pass.
Acts of Blood, which I don't remember it, but it was an action shooter. And what I then did find out is it was done by a single person from Indonesia. So that's pretty cool.
That's the one we all thought it said acts of blood, like a blood, but it's not. It's acts of blood, and that actually that's the one that looked like Sifu.
Yes, that's right.
With all the Indonesian knife fighting stuff. Now that actually looked pretty good. Yeah, I'm interested. If it's as hard as Sifu, I'll be rubbish. Yeah. I think Joey called it Sifu Generation X or something like that. But it was, it looked really good.
Apparently a single person, so that's pretty impressive. Scott Pilgrim X.
I'll pick that up. I mean, I like Scott Pilgrim stuff, and
Yeah.
I think that as a beat 'em up looked quite good.
Then we had, I think it was an event for Hitman World of Assassinations. You had Mads Mikkelsen who came on stage.
What? I
Re-
mean, how much
playing
money do you
Lashif.
have to bring him on to do a bit part character in a whatever?
Well, I wondered if he was going to do something for Death Stranding because he was in the first one.
No, nothing.
Lego Party, I think we can move on. Wildgate Spacefaring PvP, yeah, okay. Blighted, which was from Guacamelee developer.
That looked all right actually in the end. It started off being a bit like,
Yeah.
and then actually as it went through, that was the one that was it was a Hades like game.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
that looked
that's
quite
right.
good. I quite like the odd like roguelike, so yeah, might pick that.
Blighted. I know that's the one I just said.
That's that one.
So they're releasing it twice. Mecha
cool.
Break, Mecha Break, which was just mechas flying up. Infinitesimals is a third-person shooter between warring bugs.
It looked interesting. This is one we said that looks like Grounded too.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
yeah.
It was. Yeah, it looked interesting, but again, it's a live service.
Yeah.
Know,
We've got downloadable fighters for Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
Last Flag, which I don't know, making a whole game around a mode that's in other games like Halo,
weird
Call of Duty.
It didn't even look that good, to be honest.
No, we got another Souls-like, Wu Chang Fallen Feathers.
Great, love Souls-like, you know me. Yeah. Shout out to Joe. So yeah, I don't know. I like the look at it aesthetically. It looks really nice. Same as Neo did. But yeah, no,
yeah. Wu Tang are back in the game with Rise of the Deceiver.
Getting it just for the soundtrack, to be honest.
Yeah.
Anything with Wu Tang on it. Yep.
Yeah. Into the Unwell. So is a whack and slash co-op roguelite.
That looked really weird and odd, and I was kind of there for it. Yeah, I quite like the look of that.
Yeah, and then we've mentioned Stranger Than Heaven, Resident Evil. So that covers Game Fest. So can't have a go at the quantity of stuff. And there was some good stuff in there, right?
There was. I'd still much rather take quality over quantity, or, as we're about to find out, a bit of both.
Yeah. So we move on to tonight. We had the Xbox showcase, and yeah, I think we both said earlier and at the time, this was a great show, wasn't it, for games?
Show of the season right now. I mean, it was wall to wall great stuff.
Yeah.
And again, not because I'm an Xbox fanboy or I primarily play on the Xbox. I think it just, the way they did it, it had the right balance of stuff I was interested in, stuff I pass on. That was fine. But it leaned very heavily into the kind of things that I like. And I think it played well for gamers who really want to see content and they want to see the game they're going to play and not the CGI elements of it, which Xbox have been plenty guilty enough of in the past, right? I mean, we'll talk about one of them on there that I think is on your list, because I know it's on both our lists actually, because that was originally shown as a bit of a CGI thing, and it was like, oh yeah, no, don't worry, we are doing it, and then to tip up today and show the actual game in all its glory was just pure joy. I mean, it was brilliant.
Yeah. So do you want to take the lead on this one with your choices?
I will happily. Now, are we going to talk about the hardware announcement?
Yeah, let's do that actually, because that's probably the announcement of the show for me.
I think you're right, and I think to kind of come in with a pretty ballsy uplift from what was originally Project Kennan, which was their Asus ROG. And look, there's been a bunch of leaks about it, people have known about it, but to tip up and kind of go, it's real, it's here. Not only is it real and it's here, we've developed an interface for it, and you want to play Steam on it? Go for it. You want to play Epic Games? Go for it. I mean, that, we'd been saying, I was toying with the idea of buying a Legion S Go or a Steam Deck. I don't need to, because I can get it all in here now, and I'm just sold now. So I'm waiting for that to launch, and it just looked like a really nice piece of kit.
Yeah, I'm awaiting the price announcement, but yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much on this other than the fact that they confirmed it was all the game stores, wasn't it? It's
all the game stores.
Yeah,
I'm having it. Like, if I don't have to drop back to Windows to do it, which on a handheld is going to be awkward as, if it's and from what they showed on that what was it, 40-second trailer or whatever. You can because it made a point of doing it. It was like press to hold to select your store. So and then they showed it held
Right.
down and
Yeah.
the kind of slide across. And you're like, if that's what I have to do, I'm
Yeah.
going to do that. So hopefully they've worked in conjunction with these players to make sure that with Epic and with Steam, with Valve and with people like that, so they can actually make the stuff work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll wait to hear more, but I'm definitely putting a pause on what I was going to buy as a handheld because,
Yeah.
boy,
Agreed. Yeah.
that looks so good.
Yeah. And whoever it is, Asus or Microsoft, if you want to send a
We will
couple our way
happily
to play
review
test.
those. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll play test those units. I
Deep
mean, no doubt
dive.
there'll be different variants, so, one of each. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. And you know what? We talked about games so much, I'd forgotten about that. But yeah, that was really great to see. So what about games for you?
So games for me started with Blood of the Dawnwalker, which I'd seen a bit about. It must have been 5 or 6 months ago. They released a very CGI heavy trailer. At this time, included some gameplay. Looks like a bunch of fun. That's the kind of vampire simulator I'm into. Where you are the anti-hero kind of badass going around, killing other vampires. Like we said, look, it's like a white blade basically in medieval times. That's what it looked like, but it looked like a ton of fun. Great powers, great things. Walking up walls like Spider-Man. It's all a bit like there's a bit of everything in there. Yeah, so I'm here for that, and I think it looked like a bunch of fun.
See, and I apologise for the notes I scribbled into the Google Docs because I was doing this real time as it was happening. So I got so many spelling mistakes, but I called this one Slashy and Bitey. So I quite like that.
I think that's fair. He had really long fingernails at one point and
Yeah.
really pointy teeth. Slashing bitey.
I think the other thing to say about this is the majority, and I couldn't make a note because they were, and I know we've said it a few times, but they were coming thick and fast, the games in this. Is the majority of these are all pretty much, if not this year, 2026, and the majority of them are Game Pass, right? I think they were saying quite a lot of them.
This was full 25, I think they said for this one, which is surprising. Is it full 25 this one?
Well, no, I think I've got 2026 down.
Okay, fine.
But yeah,
26. I could wait for that. I'm pretty sure this is one of the ex-team from CD Projekt Red who worked on Witcher 4. I'm pretty sure this is this guy that spun off and done his own studio and built kind of this. So I think it's, and that's, it's quite exciting itself. So I think he was a lead on a lot of the quests and stuff that they built into the game.
Okay.
The other one, which was the one I referenced earlier, was Clockwork Revolution. Now this looked, and quite potentially game of the show for me. I mean, it looked phenomenal. It was
seen. I know you mentioned this to me earlier. I'd not seen this. I'm all in for this. It just looks pure enjoyment. Do you know what I mean? This game.
Yeah, they did. It was in one of their other showcases. Maybe it might have been last year. Might have been actually in the summer last year, at the same time. And they did a very CGI heavy, and even then it looked a bit. And I think I said to you at the time, it was like, well, this looks like BioShock Infinite, and we love BioShock, so. But actually, when they spun up the gameplay, and I think was really nice about the gameplay, they didn't immediately focus on combat. They spent a lot of time with exposition around even just characters interacting and talking. And then it kind of went to another level and went, and then we did combat, and it kind of showed the combat and stuff. And if you haven't seen the trailer, go watch it. It's a brilliant example of how to do a really good trailer because it just amps with everything that you see. And then you're like, oh my God, it gets better. And then it introduced the whole time travel thing, right? And then it was like, wow, with buildable cover because you're reversing time to put cover in front of you to take things out. Time grenades that throw people up in the air and leave them there so you can shoot. I mean, it just looked like a bunch of crazy nut job fun, and anything like that. We've talked about these kind of AA games that do time loop stuff really well, where you'll do something and then you've got a device that will let you rewind because you cocked up or go about it a different way. And this it looked like it puts it out there in a beautiful way. So look, really excited about it. I don't know, it could be a pile of junk, but it looked from what we saw, and anything with a character that is essentially a pissed off doll, which is what they called it, not me.
That's what they called it, yeah.
And another one that's just called Knob. It's got the humour sensibilities of Fable built around what looks like something very Bioshock Ken Levine heavy, and I just all day long thought it was brilliant.
Because that kind of humor can be a bit forced and not funny, but just in that trailer alone, for me, it feels like it works. They've got it
I
right.
thought it was brilliant where he's talking to the crime lord boss is standing in front and he's trying to talk to the guy behind him, and you get the options to select which one you want, and he was like, no, I want to talk to the guy behind you, and then the guy the crime boss gets so agitated he brains him with a candlestick. That he brains his minion with a candlestick because he won't let you talk to him. I was there for that. I was like, that's sold.
I might just have a look while you do your next one to see if they've got a date for that.
Yeah, I think it said coming at some point or coming in due time. I think
in due time, that was it. Yes,
obviously a play on the fact it's about time.
Yeah.
Third one was Team Blooper's new one, which is Cronos New Dawn. So seen quite a lot about this one previously as well. Kind of some previews and some conversations with them because it's built by it's a studio. They're kind of a East European studio, I think, but these guys have done a phenomenal job as well at Team Blue, and they've created this. It looks very Dead Space like, with the dismemberment and the kind of enemies, and there's a time loop thing to it as well. Look, it just looks really interesting, and everything I've read and seen about it just makes me want to kind of play it more. So, again, I don't think the trailer did as good a job as the previous ones. And the previous ones echoed a little bit like I don't know if you you won't have played it, but there's a game on the PS5 called Returnal, which is kind of it's a roguelike, but it's got this weird interplay with kind of memories and stuff in it. And this and the previous trailer for Cronos New Dawn had some of that in it. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. See how that one goes.
Okay, and you had one more, didn't you?
I had two actually. I won't spend ages on this one.
Sorry,
this one just looked like a lot of fun. This was There Are No Ghosts at the Grand, which just looked weird and crazy wacky out there in a I've not seen that kind of thing before.
Well, that was my one word comment on it. Bizarre.
It was like at one point you're using a gun to build a staircase out of books, and the next you're sandblasting a wall to put wallpaper up.
Yeah.
And then it goes all sci-fi, and I was just like, I don't understand what's happening here, but I really am in love with it. That is definitely one that, again, I think that was a Game Pass day one release. I'm just like, I'm gonna have that. That looks brilliant.
Yeah, it does look good. I mean, there was a game it reminded, because again, it was another one where it started off like one thing, like it looked like it was a paint. Almost like a paint in-game simulator.
We thought it was, right? That's what we thought it was. We thought it was that Power Washer simulator or whatever it was.
It kind of just changes, doesn't it?
Just completely went around.
Yeah.
And then the other one, my final one, and this is a team who have never let me down, no matter what they've released. And we have spoken about them before, I think in our very first episode about our love of games and stuff. And that's the guys over at Double Fine, whose latest gig is called Keeper, and it looks mad. You're just a sentient lighthouse. That's the only way I can describe it.
With a bird companion.
With a bird companion, and it looked mad.
Crab legs or something.
Yeah, it looked like utter lunacy, but it all, like with Psychonauts, like with Costume Quest, like with all these things they do, it ends up making total sense. And everything is in that world for a reason, and that's something Psychonauts did beautifully. It was, just a stunning piece of art, as well as a great game to play and a great puzzler and platformer. And I think this is going to have that same hook. So I'm really looking forward to Keeper, and I cannot wait for that. And that is out this year in October. And I was blown away when they announced that, because I'm like, that's my winter sorted.
Yeah. I'm with you. Double Fine really like, and it looks like a fun game. I know I keep using that word a lot, especially, but we said on a couple of these games that, I think it was for Clockwork Revolution, that it feels like the game that when, like, I sometimes get in a funk with gaming where I can't find a game that hooks me.
Yeah,
it feels like that's that sort of game where it pulls you back in.
But they were back to back to back. I mean, they were the 5 that I picked out, but we said we'd make notes on these things. I didn't bother making notes. I just wrote down every game that I liked, and there were another 5 or 6 on this list that we're not going to have time to talk about, and I'm sure you'll go through the list of the ones that were on, but they all look just stunning. Wow.
Well, we'll go through it. I'll choose mine, and I do want to do a quick honorary mention.
Of course.
Super Meat Boy 3D.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
look fun
Who was
again.
expecting that?
Yeah, and we were talking about that earlier today, weren't we?
We were.
I was talking about because I was playing Symphonia, and I was saying, "Oh, it really reminds me of Super Meat Boy,"
Yeah.
which is a game I like. It's not a game I'm good at, but it's a game I like. And this just kind of, pun not intended, but I'll have it, puts another dimension onto it. It gives it another
3D.
yeah,
I like it. Yeah,
it gives it
I've seen
another feel.
That
But
looks good.
my first choice, and it's the third game in the series, but I have liked them, and it looks different, was Plague Tale Legacy.
Yeah, that was unexpected as well.
'Cause
Because
we didn't think it
Plague
was Plague Tale, right?
not in the slightest.
Yeah.
We were kind of watching it going, it looks a bit Assassin's Creedy in Roman
mm.
times. Then they've kind of done that. Well, it was Greek, but they've kind of done that. They've done those. And then it was just all a bit, what is this? And then it just came out and it was like, oh shit, it's Plague Tale. Like they've taken the franchise in a different direction, which I think is a brilliant thing to do because that game, both of those games were not just beautiful, but really well put together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And like you said, yeah, the misdirection for me anyway, thinking it was something different.
Yeah, totally.
The next game I chose isn't a game I normally would, but it's another fighting game, but it's Invincibles versus. That looked fun again, didn't it, in that sense?
I love Invincible. I mean, that entire universe, they've just done such a good job of taking what Kirkman did on the page and creating this kind of world around it. I mean, even the Amazon TV series is brilliant. And it's almost it's not quite a one-to-one translation of the comic, but it's not far off. And this just looked like more of the same. It's like we know that world, we know how it's put together. Let's make a fighting game around it. What more could you want? I mean, that's basically what the comic is just lots of massive fights. So it's a bit of a no-brainer.
Yeah, it did look good as well. It's kind of that weird 3D, not 3D kind of esque, wasn't it?
Totally.
Yeah, and an old game as such, and I know it's been played to death by a lot of people probably, but for me, coming to Xbox, Final Fantasy VII Remake Intergrade, so I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I did play that on the PlayStation 5 when it came out. And I'm not a turn-based combat kind of guy, but what I did play a bit, and I played the first couple of hours. It was a lot of fun. I don't think I played enough to get into the story, which I think is where the real meat of it is. So I think I need to go back and do that. I played the original back in the day, but again, I don't think I ever got into it enough to understand probably a lot of the memes that come out around it as well. But when it comes out, I might well pick that up.
Okay, cool. So I will now go through all the other games. Again, just comment as needed. So it started with Outer Worlds 2. I mean, it's Outer Worlds 2, I guess, isn't it? If you like the original.
Yeah, I think I said about the original. I played it and I finished it, but I can't remember it. So I'm kind of like, I know it was funny. I know it was it was spacey. It was almost the antithesis of like Starfield in that respect.
Yeah.
Probably more fun to land as well. But yeah, look, day one Game Pass. I'll install it and play it.
My overriding memory of that, and it's an unfair one because it was a bug, but I showed you the video, didn't I? Where
guy on the floor.
I couldn't find a quest marker for about half an hour. Then I realised the character was glitched into the floor, and I looked down and there was a head there.
Always a great story.
A game I didn't see because there was an issue. My stream was a bit behind yours. We realised we were talking on different games, but High on Life 2, so I didn't see that. So any take on that?
Bit of a shock. I mean, it was all pretty much CGI, I think, from what I could tell, unless that was actual gameplay, in which case, wow. But yeah, it looks, High on Life. It looked like the second game to that.
The follow-up to it. That's a perfect explanation.
It just looks like another Rick and Morty alien world shooter. But why not? I enjoyed the first one.
Yeah. Ninja Gaiden 4.
I like Ninja Gaiden. Do I like it enough to? Maybe I'll play it at some point when I'm bored.
Yeah, it was more Ninja Gaiden. We had some DLC for Indiana Jones, The Order of the Giants.
Yeah, it was interesting what you were saying about, like, you know, I think trusting people with the franchise, IO and James Bond have yet to prove themselves. But weirdly, when it came to Indiana Jones, I didn't have the same concerns because I knew it was Machine Head.
Mm.
And because I absolutely adore the work they did with Wolfenstein, I kind of just took it as a given that Indiana Jones was going to be great. It turns out I was right. So, yeah, but hey, look, who doesn't want more Indiana Jones?
And I said to you, I still can't believe it's not. I refuse to believe it's not Harrison Ford voicing.
It's weird, isn't it? It just exactly like him.
Next game was Beast of Reincarnation.
Had that down. Looked really interesting. Was kind of where I was at. I don't quite understand it because I don't think it gave enough away, but that looked really good.
Yeah, a couple that looked good, but probably not for me. Grounded 2.
Yeah, played the first one a little bit. Couldn't get on with the base building, but that's not really my kind of game. But again, I'll watch the lowdown on it after we've finished and see. Maybe who knows.
This one where you gave me a warning about the pronunciation, and now I know I'm going to mess it up because of that. But it's Elder Scrolls Online: Seasons of the Worm Cult.
Cult.
You
really
can't even say the word now.
Heavy on the L, just in case.
You've broken my mind. Yeah. I won't say it again, but yeah.
Yeah, I love Elder Scrolls, but I'm not an online player, so I'm sure the people who play it absolutely love it, and it's been going for years, so it must be great for a lot of people. But yeah, a lot of cults, I'd imagine, who like it.
Well done. I've with good pronunciation. I'm not saying it again.
Thanks.
I played it a little bit, and I enjoyed it, but yeah, it's I haven't been there for a few years. But this next one was interesting. So for a couple of reasons. So it's Aphelion. So it's Don't Nod, who I like, but in collaboration with the European Space Agency.
I had as Aphelim. But again, we could both be pronounced it completely
I've made so
wrong.
many mistakes on this. I mean, for example, spoiler came down to it. I've got Tony Hawk's PR Skater 3 and 4. I think that should be Pro Skater, not PR.
Well, no, unless he's just going around doing a really good job of selling himself. Yeah. It could be PR Skater. This looked interesting, and we kind of went through it as we were watching it. It was kind of like, well, this looks a bit empty. The world, they're doing a great job of kind of that survivalist thing. And it was like, it needs a bit more. And then she mentions Thomas or whatever her partner's name is she's trying to find. And he opens the door and clearly hears what sounds like aliens. So like, maybe there is more to it then. I suspect they haven't designed the aliens yet. That might be.
Maybe. But I'm intrigued by the collaboration with the ESA. So we'll keep an eye on that.
I think it's like they found like one of these Goldilocks systems, and it's that kind of story where they found another planet and that's where that kind of link will come in because they found so but it'll be interesting to see how they play out.
Yep. Age of Mythology Heavenly Spear.
No.
Mudang Two Hearts.
Best name. Best named game of the day. Mudang. Heavily.
Well, I'll challenge you on the best named thing of the show in a couple of things' time. You'll remember it then. But
as long as you don't try to pronounce cult, I think you'll be fine. Mudang was an interesting one. Clearly from a Korean developer set in Korea, but looks like a mix between Splinter Cell and Metal Gear Solid, and but it looked brilliant. Like I was actually kind of like, is this going to be a 4 or 5 player online? But it actually looked like a single player story. You just jump in between characters, so it looked quite interesting actually.
Yeah, really big Splinter Cell vibes for me.
Really big.
Planet of Lana 2, if I've got that right. Children of the Leaf.
Yeah, you have. Yeah, I didn't play the first one. I was aware of it. I think I might have even downloaded it, but not got it. It's on my list of to play. But might play the first one if I like it. Pick up.
This was the name one I was saying. Fallout 76, Gone Fishing.
So I agree because the play on words, Gone Fishing, as in nuclear fission, was a genius way to put it. Yeah, I don't know. I don't play that game. Like I said, I've got a colleague at work who does. Shout out to Imogen. Hi, Imogen. So she plays those and is very much looking forward to Fission.
Okay, this is a good name. Solo Leveling Arise Overdrive.
Pass.
It's
Just
like,
anything that's called that, I don't even have time for.
we had a game called Animo. I don't remember
And
that.
this was Pokemon.
Oh yeah, yes.
This wasn't Animo, Dan. This was they've misspelt Pokemon. Is what they've done.
Yes, you're right. Yep. Then we had Tony Hawk's make an appearance, and he then was talking about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4.
That'd be weird if he turned up talking about anything else. To be fair, but who doesn't love a bit of the Hawk? I mean, that I'm getting that. Day one, play it. Take me back.
Then we had At Fate's End, which was a game I like the look of. It was that 2D side-on.
Weird, right? It looked like people pulling swords out of their throats and card battlers, and I'll give it a go. I will happily give that a go because it looked like something that would intrigue me because of the mechanics, and it's done by the guys who did. Oh, I'm going to get it wrong now, but they Spirit of the Wayfarer. I think it was Spirit of the Way.
Spiritfarer.
Spiritfarer.
Yeah.
So, and that game was beautiful. So hopefully, they'll have done it again.
Yep. Then we had what do you say about this? Gears of War Reloaded, which I said I'm looking forward to because I came to the franchise late, and I said even just a few years after, it looked the original, very muddy, very monotone.
I'm going through a whole phase of replaying great games, and on the Switch 2, I've just picked up the BioShock pack, and I'm running through BioShock again. Mainly your fault, by the way, yours and Satsu's, I think, for saying you were playing it, and then I need to play it.
You're welcome.
And I Gears of War, I loved, absolutely adored during the day. Cliffy B, I love Cliffy B as well. He's a bit of a knob, but I still think he's brilliant. So I really want to pick that up when it comes out and just have the joy of playing Gears of War all over again.
Persona 4 Revival.
Pass.
Sea of Thieves Smuggler's Tide, which is season 17.
It's like so long in the tooth, but I pass. I couldn't get into that game.
Yep. Then we had Final Fantasy 16, which is I think available today.
They were, it was on their drops on it. I don't know enough about them anymore.
No.
So I don't, I'm sure I won't care for it.
I'm happy with the 7 announcement. Yeah. And what we'll say is we have praised this. I think we're coming on to the last game. I think it didn't end strongly. And I think there was a few in that last one we just mentioned. And especially this last reveal, I think I was expecting it to appear, but I thought they would have come earlier. But it was Call of Duty Black Ops 7. Now, we ended up being disappointed by that, didn't we? Not to say it's not a good game, but
I think I was more frustrated than I was disappointed because when that started, that trailer, it looked brilliant. Like genuinely looked. It's the guy from Heroes, Milo from Heroes. I can't remember his name, but he strolls out into this very clinical white, with a and effectively a combat droid talking him through the history of this company, and then he sees this random butterfly. So you see it at the beginning, you're like, oh, it looks a bit, samey, a bit like everything else. And then he sees this butterfly land on the screen and blend into it, and he touches it, and the whole world shatters.
And we said we're in at that point.
At that point, I'm like, and then 9 Inch Nails kicks in some weird remix, and I'm like, this is just getting better and better. And then he goes into some weird creepy world, and I'm just like, oh my god, I am there all day long. And then Mason turns up, and you went, this is Call of Duty.
So this is Call of Duty.
I'm sorry, here's what? It got, and then it's fucking Black Ops 7. I'm like, give it its props. It looked like a good first-person shooter.
Yeah, it looks good. I do, for everything I said, I do enjoy Call of Duty, but I think it was that rug pull because it looked like almost like another adventure game, like a not a Resident Evil or a Silent Hill, but it was giving that vibe, wasn't it?
It looked like something completely unique.
Yeah, yeah,
And then it turns out to be a generic Call of Duty game.
yeah, yeah. So,
I mean, yeah, it was frustrating in that respect. What do I think of it? It's Call of Duty. I enjoyed 6. I enjoyed Block 6. It was I like the bits where you got infected with and you were shooting all the zombies and stuff.
yes,
When you went to that lab, I really like that bit. It made it something more than just Black Ops.
Mm.
So I quite like that bit. I like the memory jumping piece. I thought that was good. I like the casino one. I think they've done a good job with these games so far. The heist one where you're at the casino night, the gala night, and you have to you play the different characters. I like that. I think it was a good mission.
On that one though, I remember when they showed that in last year's one, and that was this big bombastic, it was Call of Duty, and I think I'll just go back to the fact that we were so disappointed just because we thought we were getting a new unique
brand new
kind of
IP.
Yeah. So that's the only kind of misstep for me.
I'm not sure you're allowed to call another Call of Duty game a world premiere.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can do that. You're not allowed to do that because I'm expecting it. If it's a world premiere, it's because it's something new. It's something I haven't seen before. So yeah, I think you're right. I totally agree. Went a little bit downhill at the end, but as a show, off the scale, back to back, great games, things I was interested in, got me excited about gaming again. Happy with that all day long.
Yeah, and the majority of these are ones that again, not advertising, but they're going to be on Game Pass. So if you've got it, you can try it. Do you know what I mean?
It's free. It's not free, but it's free. I love the way we do that. I love every gamer does that. They go, "Well, I pay a monthly subscription, but actually, it's free." Apart from the fact that I pay a monthly subscription,
but it's free.
And they're just getting stronger and stronger with their gaming anywhere as well. And that handheld, the bit we didn't mention about that is that they've committed to everything they release on Game Pass now being play anywhere. So it will be, if it exists on a PC platform or a console platform, it'll exist on the handheld platform as a play anywhere title on Game Pass. So that for me, another sales point. I don't have to worry about it. The way they seamlessly do their whole cloud saving and stuff and jump in between things and pick up and play. It's the little things, right?
Yeah. Well, look, and again, these were our views. Hence why we call gaming views. But yeah, for me, and I think even for you, not necessarily saying these are. Well, for me, my choices weren't necessarily the best games on show, but the ones that appealed to me, and I think that's what I'm going to take away from this as well. We've had 3 shows. I'm not even going to count. I didn't count the amount of games, but it's probably well over. It's got to be sort of close to 100 things being shown, right? Or sort of 60,
easily.
70 odd. So
and neither of us really watched in depth the state of Unreal, but a shout out has to go to Witcher 4, like the presentation. They had it running on a PS5 standard, not a Pro, at 60 frames a second. So you're like, that's incredible. And that game looks stunning in a way I've not seen from a game like that before. I mean, when you look back at Witcher 3 and then you look at Witcher 4 and you kind of do it's almost, like generational leaps. And it is a generational leap in fairness, but that Unreal 5 engine is something special. What they've managed to make it do. So a proper shout out to that. That was an exciting thing to see in real life. And I wasn't expecting.
Yeah. So look, whatever your views are, like I said, let's just celebrate the fact that we have got so many games coming out, and we continue to have this great hobby, right? So anything else from you, Dan, before we go? I've got some shout outs, but
I'm very sleepy because it's been a really long weekend of gaming in all senses of the term, but I wouldn't have it any other way. So happy with that.
Yeah. I want to shout out firstly again the guys over at Game Club Pod for having us on their stream. It was a ton of fun. Something
Wonderful,
we've not
guys.
done
Thank
before.
you very much. And look, it was my first time meeting them. To be honest. And it was an absolute pleasure. They are lovely guys, lovely hosts. and very sweary, just like me, which I also enjoyed a lot. So thank you guys.
I love just a thing there. At the start, I said to the guys, I can't remember, are you sweary on this? And I love how you straight away went in and said, you asked that for me, didn't you? You know, you said, you asked that for me, Dan. I said, no.
I'm quite a potty mouth, and I try and restrain myself desperately on our podcast because I know I don't want to put people off who aren't. So yeah,
I'm well known to be a big swearer. Well, only if you've seen me play Call of Duty.
Or FIFA, apparently.
Moving on. So Game Club Pod, hi, and thank you. I want to shout out Chat Tsunami again because done, a couple of episodes with him that are going to come out in the near future, late future, at some point. Sorry,
yeah, I'm looking forward to those.
Yeah, and just another one, Luke from Nerdstalgic always puts some lovely comments on our episodes on Spotify. So yeah, Luke, thank you for the comments, and yeah,
hi Luke, thank you. Yeah,
and Dan, thank you. A shout out to you, and thank you for this.
And to you. Are we allowed to shout out at each other? Thanks, Dan. Thanks for being Dan, a great host on Gaming Views.
Likewise, Dan. All right. Look, we'll see you next time for another episode of Gaming Views.
Ta-ta for now.